The text came through while I was helping a customer in my shop. It said, "I'm leaving you and moving to Seattle with my 18-year-old girlfriend. I've already emptied our joint account." My hands didn't shake as I read it. My voice stayed calm while I helped Mrs. Jake pick out a scarf. The only sign that my husband of 10 years had just ended our marriage by text was a small tightening around my eyes. I waited until Mrs. Jake left with her purchase, wrapped in our silver gift paper. Then I replied to his message. "Good luck. Name is Lily, I'm 37, and I just got the coldest goodbye message ever." Bob probably thought I'd be crying, heartbroken by his message. But instead, I was calmly closing my shop for the day. I had seen the warning signs for months. Late nights at work that didn't match his pay, new passwords on his phone, sudden interest in the gym, new clothes, trying to feel young again. 1. Months ago, I found a dinner receipt for 2 from a fancy restaurant on a night he said he was working. That same night, I opened a new bank account at a different bank. A week later, when he suggested combining our finances to make things easier, I smiled and agreed. I moved all my savings into the new account. The joint account he just emptied? I left just enough money in there to avoid suspicion, about 1 month's worth of regular deposits. The rest is safe. I also kept records of all the strange transactions he made over the past year. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message. "Don't bother begging. Kate and I leave tomorrow. I'll send for my things later. Kate, the new receptionist at his office." I met her at the company Christmas party. I saw how she laughed too hard at his jokes and touched his arm when she thought no one was watching. She's young enough to be his daughter and probably thinks she's special. I didn't reply to that text either. I called my lawyer, the one I had spoken to 1 month ago when I saw hotel charges on our credit card. "It's time," I said. "He just made his move." "The papers are ready," she replied. "I'll file them first thing tomorrow. Do you want him served in Seattle?" "No rush," I said. "Let him think he's won." Then another text came from Bob. "I know this must be hard for you. You're not getting any younger. At least you have your little shop to keep you busy." My little shop? The boutique I built from nothing? The one that makes more money than his middle management job? The one whose profits I kept out of our joint accounts? I smiled. He had no idea what was coming. I thought about the official letters waiting for him in Seattle. Let him enjoy thinking he's in control. That night, I stayed at home. My home, the one I got from my grandmother and kept in my name, even though Bob kept asking me to add him to the deed. Another good decision. While organizing the documents for my lawyer, I found our wedding album. Bob looked so different back then, before his midlife crisis turned him into a version of himself I barely recognized. Now he wore shirts that were too tight for his softening belly, tried too hard to fit in with the 18-somethings at work, and used slang that sounded silly coming from a 42-year-old man. My phone buzzed again and again. More texts from Bob, each one more insulting than the last. "I've been planning this for months. Kate understands me like you never did. You'll be fine. Maybe you'll meet someone your age. I already told my family. They agree. We just grew apart. It's nobody's fault." I took screenshots of every message and added them to my folder of evidence. Let him keep talking. My lawyer would love his clear confession, planning everything ahead and happily telling me he drained our account. Then one last message caught my eye. "BTW, I used the joint card to pay for our flights and hotel. Consider it my parting gift. LOL. Perfect." I called the credit card company. "This is Mrs. Sam," I said. "I need to report some fraud and cancel a card right away." "Of course, ma'am. Can you tell me which charges?" "Yes," I said. 2 first-class tickets to Seattle booked today, hotel charges at the Royal Palm, and I need to remove my husband as an authorized user." "Do you have proof of the fraud?" she asked. "Yes. I have text messages from my husband admitting he used our joint card to book a trip with his girlfriend after draining our bank account. I can send them to you." The woman stayed professional, but I could tell. She was pleased as she canceled the charges. Tomorrow, Bob and Kate would get to the airport and find out their tickets didn't work. Their hotel reservation would be gone too. My phone buzzed again. "Don't worry about the house. I'll let you stay there until you find something smaller." I actually laughed out loud. Did he really believe he had a right to the house my grandmother left me? Did his ego get so big that he forgot the house was in my name? Then another message. I know the shop means a lot to you. We can work out a fair deal for your half. My half? Of the business I built from scratch? The one I paid for, ran, and grew while he called it a hobby and complained I worked too much? I poured myself a glass of wine, the nice one I'd been saving for a special moment. This was it. Tomorrow, Bob would learn how property law and separate finances really work. But tonight I was going to relax, enjoy the peace, and start thinking about what comes next. In the morning, I woke up to a bunch of angry texts from Bob. What did you do to the credit card? The airline says the tickets aren't valid. The hotel canceled our room. Answer me. I put my phone on silent and headed to my boutique. Wednesdays were always busy, and a new shipment of designer handbags had just arrived. Life keeps moving, even when your husband runs off with a receptionist young enough to be his daughter. Around noon, his mother called. Lily dear, she said, Bob told us everything. He said you were so controlling. That's why he left. And now you're being spiteful, ruining his travel plans. I put Anna on speaker while I worked on a window display. Did Bob tell you he emptied our joint account and used our credit card to buy tickets for himself and his girlfriend? I asked. There was a pause. Then she said, well, he said you gave him no choice, that you'd been cold and distant. Anna, I have the texts. Do you want me to read them to you? The one where he brags about taking our money, or the one where he makes fun of my age? Another pause. He did seem a little harsh. I told him that message wasn't okay. I appreciate the call, Anna. I've always liked you, but I think we should end this conversation here. My lawyer advised me to keep contact with Bob and his family to a minimum during the divorce. Divorce? Already? She said. Goodbye, Anna. By late afternoon, Bob's sister Sarah was already gossiping to mutual friends. Word got around that Bob and Kate were stuck at a cheap motel near the airport. Their Seattle plans were on hold. He tried using his personal credit cards, but they were maxed out, another sign I had noticed a while ago. Then my lawyer called with an update. The emergency hearing is set for Thursday, she said. Since we have proof that he emptied the joint account and used the credit card, we're in a strong position to freeze whatever assets are left. Has he been served yet? I asked. Not yet, she said, but he'll get the papers at his new motel address. By the way, she added, his girlfriend's social media posts have been very helpful. She's been sharing everything they're doing, including some pretty rude things about you. I smiled, thinking about the file I'd been building. A year's worth of suspicious charges, hotel bills, and texts that proved he'd planned this for a long time. Bob was so busy planning his big escape that he didn't think I'd notice, or prepare. Then my phone buzzed with another message from him. You think you're so clever, but I made copies of the boutique's financial records. Half of that business is mine. I sent that message straight to my lawyer and added it to the growing pile of Bob's mistakes. Let him find out the hard way what separate property and business ownership really mean. Sometimes the best kind of revenge is simply being ready. Thursday's emergency hearing was everything. It went better than I could have hoped. Bob showed up wearing clothes meant for someone much younger, tight designer jeans and a flashy blazer that screamed midlife crisis. Kate waited outside the courtroom, looking very young and out of place, under the bright courthouse lights. Inside, my lawyer presented everything we'd gathered. One by one, she laid out the proof. Bob's texts bragging about emptying our bank account, the credit card charges, and his long history of hiding expenses. It was all there, collected quietly over months. Your Honor, Bob's lawyer began. My client admits he made some poor choices, but Mrs. Sam has been cold and calculating. Calculating? My lawyer said. You mean careful. My client protected her separate assets and kept clear records of her husband's suspicious behavior. That's not cruel. That's smart business. The judge reviewed my documents, the deed to the house in my name only, the boutique's business papers, and the financial records proving I had always kept personal and business money separate, something Bob used to complain about. Mr. Sam, the judge said, turning to Bob, You admitted in a text that you emptied the joint account and used a shared credit card to take a trip with your girlfriend. Do you deny this? Bob shifted in his seat. I just wanted a clean break. By committing financial fraud? The judge asked, raising an eyebrow. And now you're claiming ownership of property that clearly belongs to your wife? Bob's lawyer tried again. The business grew during their marriage. My client is entitled to part of it. The business was started before the marriage. My lawyer said, and Mrs. Sam kept business and personal finances completely separate. We have records of every dollar she earned or invested. I watched Bob's face. This wasn't the quick win he expected. He thought he could drain the accounts, run off with his girlfriend, and walk away with half my business. He never understood why I insisted on keeping things separate. He used to laugh at my careful bookkeeping, calling it over the top. The court finds clear evidence of financial misconduct, the judge announced. All shared assets are now frozen until the divorce is final. Mr. Sam is ordered to return all money taken from the joint account within 48 hours. But the money's gone, Bob protested. We spent it. Then I suggest you find a way to replace it, the judge said firmly. And Mr. Sam using joint funds for a trip with a girlfriend is not something the court takes lightly. Outside the courthouse, I overheard Kate asking Bob what they were going to do about Seattle now. His answer was lost under the sound of my heels on the marble floor as I walked away, back to the business he never understood or appreciated. Over the next few weeks, Bob tried everything. He said the boutique had been his idea, claimed he'd invested in it early on, even tried to say he'd been my business partner all along. But my records told the real story. Every claim he made was quickly proven false. He's getting desperate, my lawyer said. His girlfriend's social media shows they're now staying at her tiny studio apartment. Looks like living on a receptionist's salary isn't the dream life Bob expected. His family began calling too. Their tone had changed a lot since they first blamed me. We had no idea, his sister Sarah admitted. He told us you were cold and controlling, said he needed to get away. But then we saw his texts, how he bragged about taking your money. That's not the brother I thought I knew. His mother called again, this time crying. The things he said about your age, about replacing you with someone younger, I raised him better than that. At least I thought I did. I let their messages go to voicemail. Their support might have mattered a few weeks ago. Now it just felt like they were jumping ship when things got bad. Meanwhile, the boutique was thriving, ironically, thanks to the gossip. Word had spread, and women started coming in just to support me. Many left with more than they'd planned to buy. One of my exes tried the same thing, one customer said while buying a designer handbag. Thought he could take everything in the divorce. Men like that never expect us to outsmart them. Bob still sent texts. Sometimes angry, sometimes trying to sound sorry. You've ruined everything. I didn't mean to hurt you. You'll regret being so bitter. Can't we just talk? That business would be nothing without me. I never replied. I just forwarded them all to my lawyer and let Bob keep digging himself deeper. Through the grapevine, I heard Kate was starting to regret things. Living in a cramped apartment with a middle-aged man who couldn't pay his own way wasn't the fun adventure she'd imagined. The age gap that seemed exciting when they were sneaking around in hotels now felt awkward and real. She's been posting about toxic relationships and learning from mistakes, my lawyer mentioned during a call. She also removed her relationship status this morning. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for Bob. Almost. But then I remembered his haha after he told me he emptied our account. The cruel jokes about my age. How sure he was that I'd fall apart without him. Instead of pity, I felt something else. Pride. Pride in how I had planned ahead. In my quiet strength. In how I protected myself while he underestimated me. The final divorce hearing told a much different story than the one Bob had imagined. The confidence was gone. He looked nervous and unsure. Kate wasn't even there. She'd moved on to someone. Closer to her own age, according to gossip at his office. Bob had shown up in his old clothes. That expensive wardrobe? Returned. Most likely to help pay back the money he stole from our joint account. Bob looked defeated. His lawyer looked exhausted, probably from trying to find some way around the clear records I'd kept of our separate Finances. Your Honor, his lawyer said one last time, even though the documents show the business is separate property, my client supported his wife emotionally. That support helped the business grow. Emotional support? My lawyer replied. Like these texts, where he calls her store a little shop? Or these social media posts where he says it's just her hobby? The judge had heard enough. The final settlement showed the results of my planning. I kept my house, my business, and everything I had kept separate. Bob walked away with his personal things and his car, which was worth less than what he still owed on it. "You've destroyed me," he whispered as we walked out of the courtroom. "I'll have to move back in with my parents." "No, Bob," I said. "You destroyed yourself. I just made sure you couldn't take me down with you." His mother was waiting outside to drive him to his new home, back to his childhood bedroom at 42. The same man who mocked my age was now living with his mom again, while I went back to running my successful business. "You planned all of this," he said bitterly. "You knew this would happen." "No," I said calmly. "I just paid attention. And unlike you, I understood the importance of keeping good records." His mother stepped between us. "That's enough, Bob. You've embarrassed yourself enough already." As they walked away, I heard her start scolding him. "What were you thinking? An 18-year-old? Emptying accounts? Sending awful texts?" I watched them head to the parking lot, and for the first time in a while, I felt real peace. Bob thought his cruel text had ended our story, but really all he did was trigger a plan I had quietly built over time. My phone buzzed, not from Bob, but from my boutique's website. More online orders were coming in, life was moving forward, just not in the direction he imagined. 4 months after the divorce was final, my boutique had grown enough to open a second location. The irony wasn't lost on me. Bob, who once called it a little shop, was struggling, while my business was booming. I had hired 2 new employees and launched an online store. It was starting to attract customers across the country. News about Bob slowly made its way to me through mutual friends. He had tried dating again, but women his age weren't interested in a man living with his parents. And younger women? They stayed away too, thanks to office gossip and a few warnings from Kate. Apparently, Kate had shared screenshots of Bob's desperate messages trying to win her back after she left him. She told her friends to steer clear. Things didn't go well for him at work either. HR had launched an investigation into his relationship with Kate, who had been his employee. As a result, he got a formal warning. The promotion he had been hoping for went to someone else, someone without a history of inappropriate office relationships. He tried to say it was age discrimination, Sarah told me during a surprise visit to the boutique. He said HR was punishing him for dating someone younger. They just added that complaint to his file. I hadn't expected to see his sister in my store, but her visit said a lot. Even Bob's own family had started to distance themselves from him. "No, we didn't support you at first," she said, gently touching a silk scarf. "He played the victim so well. But after seeing how he behaved, I'm ashamed we ever believed him." My lawyer kept me updated on Bob's continued attempts to challenge the divorce ruling. Every time the court denied his requests. He even tried to argue that the text about emptying our account was a joke. The judge asked if haha made theft legal, my lawyer said, laughing. Meanwhile, my boutique was doing better than ever. Local business magazines reached out, not to talk about my divorce, but to feature me as a smart businesswoman who protected what was hers. Young entrepreneurs contacted me for advice, asking how I kept my business and personal life separate. The best protection is preparation, I told one young woman who reminded me of Kate. And always trust your instincts. Sometimes Bob's mother would still call, usually after he'd made another bad choice. He tried online gambling, she sighed one day. Then he joined one of those pyramid schemes thinking he'd make quick money. Every time he tries to fix things, it just gets worse. She told me that she and his father offered to help him, but only if he took responsibility. Instead, he kept blaming everyone else. Me, Kate, his job, the judge. I listened, but kept my distance. Their family problems weren't mine anymore. My life had moved on. I was planning a third boutique and thinking about adding a luxury accessories line. The only trace of Bob that remained in my life was a framed screenshot on my office wall, his final text before I blocked him. Have fun with your little shop. At least it'll keep you busy in your old age. Beneath that frame sat my newest business award, proof that the best kind of revenge is simply building a successful life on your own. 1 year after the divorce, I hosted the grand opening of my third boutique. The event drew local media, but this time the story wasn't about a failed marriage. It was about a businesswoman growing her brand. Bob's betrayal had become nothing more than a distant memory, a side note in a much bigger, better story. Then, in the middle of the event, someone unexpected walked in. Kate. She looked younger than ever. Or maybe I just felt stronger now. Kate stood there, shifting nervously and holding her purse like it was a shield. I owe you an apology, she said quietly. I believed everything he told me, that you were cold, controlling, and didn't support his dreams. But then I saw him do the same things to me when life got hard. I kept arranging the new sunglasses display. Those weren't dreams, Kate, I said. They were escapes. There's a big difference. She nodded. I know that now. She hesitated, then added, when you froze the accounts, he tried to move in with me. He thought my small apartment was just temporary, but after 1 week of him complaining about my closet space and hinting that I should take out a loan for a bigger place, I finally understood what you meant. I laughed. Let me guess, he had big plans, but no real way to pay for them. Exactly, she said. Everything was going to be fine once his investments paid off. Once he got that promotion, once his crypto skyrocketed. She gave a small smile and shook her head. I'm dating someone my own age now. We have student loans and a tiny apartment, but at least we're building something real. After she left, my assistant manager leaned over and whispered, was that the girlfriend? No, I said. That was just another woman who learned the same lesson I did. I looked over at a young couple browsing through the handbags. Speaking of lessons, I said, let's go over your idea for expanding our accessories line. The boutique had become more than just a business. It was a symbol of independence, strength, and being prepared. Young business owners often came to me for advice. I always told them, protect your assets and trust your instincts. Then, Bob's mother called one last time. Not to complain about Bob, but to thank me. You taught our family a hard but important lesson, she said. About not excusing bad behavior. About the danger of always making excuses for cruelty. Bob's still living at home, still blaming everyone else. But we're done defending him. That's the legacy you've left us, understanding the difference between helping someone and enabling them. I thought about that as I reviewed plans for a third boutique. Bob had tried to tear me down, replace me with someone younger, and take half of what I built. Instead, he only pushed me to grow stronger and become more successful. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer. Bob filed another petition to change the settlement. The judge dismissed it immediately and made him pay court costs. Thought you'd enjoy that. I smiled, imagining him still in his childhood bedroom, trying to rewrite an ending that was sealed the moment he underestimated me. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better. 3 years after Bob's cruel text message, I got invited to speak at a women's business conference. The topic wasn't divorce or betrayal. It was about how to build and protect a successful business. My story had changed. What started as a warning had become something hopeful, an example of what's possible. During the Q&A session, a woman stood up and asked, my husband says I'm being paranoid for keeping our finances separate. He says marriage means sharing everything. Am I wrong? My ex-husband said the same thing, I replied. Right up until he tried to take half my business during our divorce. Trust your instincts. Protecting yourself isn't being paranoid. It's being smart. Then, my boutique had grown into a chain of 3 stores, each more successful than the last. The little shop Bob once mocked now employed 20 people and had been featured in several national magazines. Through mutual friends, I heard Bob had finally moved out of his parents' house. He was now renting a small apartment above someone's garage. His company had let him go during a restructuring, and he had to take a lower-paying job. His dating profile still claimed he was young at heart, though the photo was clearly old. Ironically, Kate had become a regular customer at my original boutique. She had gone back to school, earned a business degree, and started her own social media consulting company. "You inspired me," she told me once. "You showed me that a woman can build something real instead of falling for empty promises." In my office, I kept Bob's old text message framed, not to feel angry, but as a reminder of how far I'd come. Below it was a sign that said, "Success is the best revenge." At the 3-year anniversary of my first boutique, I gave a short speech to thank my staff and loyal customers. That small shop had become the center of a growing business empire. I was surprised to see Bob's mother there. I hadn't invited her, but she waited until the crowd thinned before coming over. "I saw Bob yesterday," she said, smoothing the designer dress she'd bought from my store. "He was going on about his glory days, about the life he could have had. He still doesn't get it. He didn't lose everything in the divorce. He threw it away." I thought about that message he sent me. The one where he laughed while telling me he drained our bank account. The way he assumed I'd fall apart. He thought I would fall apart without him. That I'd beg, break down, and prove him right. That I was desperate. But instead, I built something stronger than before. Every new boutique was proof of what women can do when they stop shrinking themselves to make insecure men feel bigger. The young saleswoman I'd hired last month, also named Kate, by chance, walked over to ask a question about the new inventory system I'd set up. As I explained it to her, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the store window. What I saw wasn't a woman getting older. It was a woman who had gotten wiser, stronger, and more successful. The cruel message Bob sent 3 years ago was supposed to be the end of my story. But instead, it became the beginning. Not just for me, but for every woman who's heard my story and realized she deserves more than being part of someone else's midlife crisis. She deserves better, because she is better.